How many people actually read the terms of service and the privacy policy of any website you visit? If you don't, you should, especially when it comes to your own DNA. This is utterly shocking. This is an article written by Joel Winston of thinkprogress.org. Ancestry.com takes DNA ownership rights from customers and their relatives. Let me repeat that. Ancestry.com, a company, is taking DNA ownership rights from customers and their relatives. We talked just recently about how online we are sold, our information is sold like slavery, like we're sold for profit, okay? But Ancestry.com is taking this to a whole new level. Without DNA, you don't exist. So if Ancestry.com, a corporation, owns your DNA, what do they actually own? You. But you didn't just sell out yourself. You just sold out your whole family to slavery. That's what I know that a lot of people aren't making the connection to slavery, and that's a hard thing to grasp. But when someone owns you, it's typically called a what? A slave, right? Okay. Don't use the Ancestry DNA testing service, without actually reading the Ancestry.com terms of service and privacy policy. According to these legal contracts, you still own your DNA, but so does Ancestry.com. And later on, it's just shocking. It's incredible. Because your ownership of DNA for yourself apparently expires, but Ancestry's ownership does not. Hang on. The family history website, Ancestry.com, is selling a new DNA testing service called Ancestry DNA. But the DNA and genetic data that Ancestry.com collects may be used against you or a genetic relative. According to its privacy policies, Ancestry.com takes ownership of your DNA forever. There is no expiration date. Your ownership of your DNA, on the other hand, is limited in years. It seems obvious that customers agree to this arrangement since all of them must click here to agree to these terms. But how many people really read the contracts before clicking to agree? And how many relatives of Ancestry.com customers are also reading? Because I'm pretty sure down the road your kids aren't going to agree. Or your brother or your sister, they're not going to agree. And I know our audience probably isn't going to use Ancestry.com. We're smarter than that, I hope. God, I hope. There are 3 significant provisions in the Ancestry DNA privacy policy and terms of service to consider on behalf of yourself and your genetic relatives. The perpetual, royalty-free, worldwide license to use your DNA. The warning that DNA information may be used against you or a genetic relative. Your waiver of legal rights. My only question is how in the world can a company actually get away with a legal binding contract that is this invasive? They just threatened to use your own DNA against you at a future date. You may never know, but at a future date. And the worst part is, you may not have done the Ancestry DNA test. A distant relative could have. We know to the extent of what kind of genetic testing is available. We've covered it for months, for years. But that's not where it stops. I mean, this is literally taking ownership of your DNA. I can't grasp it because it just seems so unrealistic. But a lot of people can say, yeah, that's been going on for a long time, and I'm glad that you know. Are you warning your family about it? Are you warning your friends about it? Are you warning your neighbors? Literally handing yourself over to the ownership of a corporation that does not expire. Can you imagine the consequences? Can you imagine the consequences of that? Imagine when DNA testing can be used to incriminate people. Well, just yesterday there was an artificial intelligence system that's called Compass, sold by Northpoint, that builds a profile. And it doesn't take all only private data. All only legal data. It takes private and personal information that can be found online. And they're all basing it off of probabilities. I mean, the lawyer that we read from yesterday was saying they even know the size of your skull. Can you imagine when the DNA is included into that profile? They're building a profile on you and me, whether we know it or whether we agree to it. The corporations have databases with facial recognition software. That came out last year in Bloomberg. And now we have a corporation who is literally taking ownership of DNA. Literally taking ownership of DNA. That is called slavery, and I thought slavery was illegal. So many people lately want to have their DNA tested, and for good reason. Many people want to know their biological history, such as where their ancestors lived or where their unknown uncle descended from. Well, many services have sprung up over the past several months, all of which are aiming to help people find out their hidden pasts. And while the people are getting answers, the corporations are taking claim of something each individual should guard with their life, their DNA. Ancestry.com is one example of where people are actually handing over their DNA, literally. The Family History website recently began a new DNA testing service for its customers called Ancestry DNA. However, before using the utility, several people did not read the terms of service and or the privacy policy. This is shocking. So we've talked about how like Google and Facebook, they own your personally identifiable information. In other words, they own the online version of you because you've given them data. It doesn't matter what we've done. I mean, we're tracked everywhere with this, right? I'm pretty sure at some time or another, we've had a Google account, or we've had a Facebook account, or we've had a Twitter account, or we've had a social account, right? Okay, well then they own whatever personally identifiable information was given by us, the people, we the people. Now, you have Ancestry.com that's taking that a step further. They actually own the individual, their DNA. And they can do whatever the hell they want with it. That is tyrannical. And I'll bet you there's a clause in there that says if Ancestry.com gets shut down, it will be sold to the highest bidder. That is slavery. We are not chips in a poker game that can be sold. We are people. We are real living human beings, yet we're being sold like slaves by corporations. At what point are people going to actually wake up and realize this? That's all I've got for you. God bless and carry on. Thanks for tuning into this episode. Make sure you download our free mobile apps available on Apple and Android. We are viewer funded. Support The Christian Truther by going to christiantruther.com/info for more information.